see it's getting darker and darker, and there's just no way right now for these drivers to know exactly what's going to happen.
These guys are going to have to be really, really careful and tiptoe around the track until it's either not even 10 minutes into this race, and I feel like we've got enough strategy going on for a whole event, but still a long, long way to go.
There's Yellowstone, there's Yosemite, but for racing fans and for Good Life's Elkhart Classic, the destination is Road America, the National Park of Speed. Three wide in the front of the field here. Look at Emil Tab up the inside for the race leaders. We head down to the first corner.
And these guys have no idea what they're coming into. Look at this field. They're 2 wide, 3 wide, a couple places slipping.
Side by side for the race lead. 54, 48 through 3 and 4. Working lap number 60, 110 laps to go. Yusuf Ghali power move to the bottom of the racetrack, making the short way work. They're going to touch down the hill.
This will be a great run for 4 here.
Yes, if we go right off the track in the final quarter, that'll lap 4 to get a massive.
Here he comes.
Does he have a look?
Oh, big block there by Sanfilippo. Into the grass goes Ben Fuller for turn 1. And Sanfilippo hangs on. He's loose. No! And he crashes hard in the exit of turn number 2. Don't try him here, boys. They're going to do it. Gritsko backs out. They touch. They're going to crash. Gritsko going to slam the attenuator hard into the wall. And Jared Tesson hits him as well. And big damage on these cars. That's huge.
Number 4, people are struggling for grip, going out of every single lane, even trying to then run. It's getting really insane.
Powered by AWS for the Intercontinental GT Challenge, powered by Pirelli at the Indianapolis 8-hour. We are 7 hours and 18 minutes into this 8-hour event.
John Miller way deep on the brakes to the inside of turn number 1 and 2. The spin, the 3 car gets turned around in front of the car.
James Howden looking for a place to go, but he's got Austin Cobb to the inside. Bit of a gap behind. I think that's about 15th or 16th spot as they come out of turn 3. Big slide for this.
Getting a run. He's got it. Going to be a drag racing line. Final corner. Checkered flag waving. Here they come. At Virginia National Raceway. To the line. Thompson, Darling, door to door. Banging doors. Fender to fender. I can't believe what we just saw.
This is not the world's fastest half mile, the track too tough to tame, the tricky triangle, or the world center of racing. It's not the paperclip, the monster mile, or the National Park of Speed. It's not any of those things, but at least in most of the aforementioned places, you can control your own destiny. Not here, not now. This is something a little different, but something a whole lot faster. It's not going to wear out your arms, but it will give you a hell of a headache. This is Talladega Super Speedway, round 10 of the 2021 Fuel Mission 22 Premier Series. Kyle Heyer alongside Connor Horn tonight for the 10th round of the 2021 season. Connor, 66 laps at Talladega, but that doesn't mean it's any easier, even though it's a little shorter than last time.
No, if anything, the intensity is going to be ramped up even more. Shorter race means a lot more guys are not going to try to be riding at the back, as you would see in maybe like a 94-lap race. You're going to see a lot of guys trying to keep track position for the entire 66-lap race, excuse me. So you're going to see a lot of 3-wide racing at the beginning, trying to get up to the front. We might see a few people still try to run at the back, but it's going to be a lot more ramped up and a lot more intense.
Talladega, Alabama, population 16,000, constructed back in 1969. It's been long holding the record for the longest oval used in NASCAR. A 4-mile road course operated in the infield from 1969 until it was abandoned in the 80s. As we head into qualifying here, you'll notice that this is open qualifying here, Connor. This is really different. This sort of turns qualifying into a crapshoot. But does this really change how the race is going to look a little bit later? I'd argue probably not.
I wouldn't think so. It just changes who's going to start up front, who's going to start at the rear, and it really doesn't. Even if it was single car qualifying doesn't matter at a super speedway. At least in these Xfinity cars, where you can get to the front pretty easy if you just want to mash it to the floor. So I don't think it's going to change much. It changed how quickly they got on track, because they took like a minute to get everyone formed up and on track, because no one wants to be at the front in open queue.
So having a look at the weather information here today, it's 78 in the air, 106 down there on the racetrack. That won't really change a whole lot this afternoon. We've got a grid of just under 30 drivers here, Connor. Missed last week in Nashville because of a conflict I had, so unfortunately we weren't able to broadcast that one. From what I saw, though, Connor, tumultuous week at Nashville, to say the least. 11 cautions and lots of upset people. Do you think that's going to affect our race here at Talladega?
We'll have to wait and see. We weren't able to see who got potentially mad at one another, but one thing's for sure, there's still only really one guy who has all the momentum. That's Alan Elwood. 42-point lead coming into tonight's race. It led 162 of 187 laps through those 11 yellows. He was the only driver in the field who didn't have a single incident point, so he had a speed sailing last week. He easily won Nashville Fairgrounds, and he is looking pretty good. it's obviously not going to be as easy this week at a track like Talladega to win, but he's got all the momentum to do it again.
So this is qualifying. Guys, your eyes are not deceiving you. We are open qualifying here at Talladega. Fastest lap will start you first, and then so on and so forth all the way down the grid. You'll notice here that the times are in the high 49s. Now, Connor, the Cup Series cars got some adjustments to the aerodynamics that these cars did not get. But has the mindset shifted about plate racing in the last couple months, and will that be something to keep an eye on tonight? Will people be a little bit more aggressive than we're used to seeing them be?
I think they are already going to be aggressive. We already have a wreck. I think Will Roberts just caused some sort of wreck there. So I'm not quite sure. It depends what people have been driving, because those Cup cars are completely different. The Cup cars and Xfinity cars, they used to race similar on the super speedways, but with the package change, with how you can sort of tandem in the Cup cars, there's a bubble of air separating them. It's going to be very different if you're not used to how the Xfinity cars race. If you've been racing Cup cars too much, you might be really caught out of how different it is compared to those Cup cars. So I don't think it'll change much at the very end of the race. I think people will learn by then, but the beginning of the race could be something different.
There is Alan Elwood, your current points leader, coming into the night by 42 points. We have 2 races remaining, this race and then Richmond next week, to set our Fuel Finals grid for 2021. And how the Fuel Finals work, the top 10 in the points through the regular season will move on to the Fuel Finals, as well as the top 2 highest-ranked winners outside of the top 10 points, provided they have attempted more than 80% of the regular season. The drivers in that position right now are Casey Lakatos and Danny Ware. They are about 12 points out of qualifying themselves in tonight, and I think looking at a place like Talladega as a huge wild card, Connor, I think anybody could fall in or out in the closing stages of this regular season, except for the drivers in the top 5 spots, really all the way down to Finney and Dacuna. From Dacuna on back, though, there's a little bit of concern, perhaps, that with a bad race or two, Nick Massey, Chad Simpson, or even Brad Slaughter Jr. could drop out of the locked-in spots in the chase and have to point their way in.
Especially if Nick Massey. I don't think Nick Massey's even here, so he's obviously going to drop down a point. So that might open the door for someone like Danny Ware, Lakatos, even Bronson Stafford. He might have a chance of maybe getting a spot from Massey since he's not here. And guys like Chad Simpson. Simpson's good at these restrictor plates. He's won at Daytona before, so he can obviously do it again at Dega. Brad Slaughter Jr. needs some good runs. A lot of things could shake up, especially with a track like this. No one really wants to see this at this point in the season. You'd rather have the super speedways at the beginning of the season when there's no risk, no points at stake. But with only 2 races, including tonight, left, this is one you can't afford to miss, and one you can't afford to mess up either.
Well, going back to some favorites, I think we have to look squarely at this man right here, Matt Holliba, in the number 02 Pepsi car. He is our most recent winner at Talladega in this series, so maybe he can have the lightning strike twice and win here tonight. A 66-lap race, as I mentioned. It's a relatively short race compared to the last time out, which was, I believe, 77. Wow. There is the back of Finney and Dacuna's car, and man.
He did something similar last time, too.
I love that a lot. He's got a sense of humor, doesn't he?
I don't know if I love it, but it did something.
He's going to have to start out back because he does not yet have a qualifying lap. He might get one go, but he isn't in the draft just yet. So we'll see if that pans out. We'll get a better look at that bumper a little later in the race. How about from the back of the front of the 50 car?
There we go.
Nice. Cleverly done, Finney, and I'll give you that.
It's definitely cleverly done. He did I like it better than the one he did last time they were at Dega, so it's a little bit better.
And to his credit, it's also in the SIP TV font, or at least the one we used up until 2021, so on brand as well.
Yeah, definitely on brand, because we're going to see these two try to put a lap down together. Also with the 6, I think there's Joseph Tebben. You really need a pack to get a really fast lap like Braxton DeWeese and Michael Stroll did. They were the only ones in the 49s, actually, so maybe they were tandem, but I think you need a pack of around 5 or a little bit more to have a fast lap. We'll see what they can do tandem.
Yeah, so Dacuna is going to get a bit of a shove down here on the back straightaway. Now, they are going to be able to complete this lap because this is open qualifying, so there's going to be a cool-down period where they can continue to finish their lap. My concern here is if you're bump drafting, Connor, you get yourself a 0x, this lap is not going to count, so I wonder if that's even a consideration here.
Sometimes that can throw you off, so we'll see if their laps do count. It's really only if you hit the person in front of you too hard is that when it'll give you a 0x or something like that. I think Casey's been very conservative on bumping him. He hasn't hit him too hard. He's just locked and loaded. In the 60s, just trying to get a tail. Tebben might actually get a better lap than those two, but we'll have to wait and see. Those two look good tandeming.
Cross the line at 59.97, and did it count? It does not, so he will not move up any positions, and he'll send it into the fence. at the end of the lap. Casey Lakatos didn't pick up either. The 60 car of Tebben, though, he did pick up at 51.007, puts him 18th quick. And our pole sitter, Braxton DeWeese and Michael Stroll, they actually shared the best time of 49.925 equally atop the standing. So they're actually going to tie, and they're both going to start on that front row, although DeWeese is scored as the driver ahead.
Yeah, I think it's just because he had the lower number. 1 beats 8 in this case, I suppose. Literally the only 2 drivers to put down 49-second time, so I wonder how they were able to do that. Usually when you're like a second off a big pack, you get the best tow, so they could have done that. Maybe they timed it perfectly.
Qualifying is complete here at Talladega for the Fuel Mission 22 Premier Series. DeWeese and Stroll will line up your front row. We're going to head down to the racetrack here in just a minute, go over some of the keys to the race before we go green here tonight in just a moment. As we head into the night, the 3 keys of the race that I thought we should talk about, Connor. Well, one of them, DraftKings. How to survive the draft and make it to the end, but it's a skill that a lot of people don't know how to do quite effectively.
Yeah, very difficult to do. Someone like Jeremy Miller in the Outsiders Racing League, he's a guy who knows how to stay at the front. And there's not a lot of people. Jeremy used to race at Fuel. He hasn't raced this season. There's not a lot of people we can point to exactly that know how to stay up at the front and control the field like someone like Miller does. So we'll have to wait and see if anyone emerges out of that group. No bets are placed on this race, by the way.
Last lap lunge. Everyone knows at the restrictor plate races coming out of turn number 4. When do you make your move? That is going to be the most important topic of discussion. Or do you want to be leading on that last lap? I'd venture maybe. Then the big one, avoiding the big crash there, Connor. It always happens. Sometimes it's early in the race, sometimes it's late in the race, sometimes it's right smack in the middle. How to keep yourself out of that is really the key to actually getting a chance at that last lap lunge.
We're going to have to wait and see what happens. Those big ones, we had 4 or 5, I think, the last time this series was at Talladega, including 2 wrecks on the last lap, if not 3. And speaking of that last lap lunge, we had a little bit of that the last time we were at Dega as well. Matt Hollaba avoiding a wreck, and then he actually accidentally spun someone. It wasn't his fault, but there was contact at a turn 4 with whoever he was racing with. So we could really see a completely different finish than what we saw last time, but he only led 1 lap. So I don't think leading's what you really want to do. Shane Terry had 1 Daytona. He only led 7 laps. So whoever wins this race, I wouldn't be surprised to see them right at the back.
Kyle Heier alongside Connor Horn for the 10th round of the 2021 Fuel Mission 22 Premier Series. There's the 1 and the 8 starting side by side for the launch of this green flag. We're going to get 1 pace lap. We're going to turn them loose. If this race goes green from start to finish, Connor, it'll take us 55 minutes and 4 seconds. My prediction, it'll be a little longer with those caution flags. But a shorter race than last year by about 11 laps. How much does that change the urgency in the start of this thing?
I think it's going to change a lot of people's urgency. I think you're going to see a lot more people trying to get to the front, like I talked about earlier. I think a lot more people are going to want to keep track position, especially when it looks like it's probably only going to be a 1-stop race, because I believe the fuel is the same, so they should be able to make it to halfway, lap 33. So we won't see pit stops until then if it goes green then, because of the halfway points, obviously. So I think we're going to see a lot more people trying to get to the front, more 3 wide, maybe 4 wide. There is room for it, but it can be dangerous. So we'll see. I think someone like the 5 of Alan Elwood, the 83 Shantarian, they might ride at the back until halfway points are given out. So I think it's just going to be a lot more aggressive this year.
With the chase or the fuel finals looming in a couple of weeks, looking at the drivers on the outside looking in, Casey Lakatos is one of those. He's got a handful of teammates in the field tonight. One of them is that 94 Finian DeCuna, who we saw them working together a little bit in qualifying. Once we get to the race, how much do you think those two are going to work together, if at all?
I think they're going to try the best they can to stick together, but at Talladega, say the 50 gets a run, a way bigger run than like Finian, he's got to go eventually. So it's a hard balance. If you're racing with a teammate, it's a hard balance because you want to go with them. But if they don't have a run and you're going 5 miles per hour faster than them, it's much better just to pass them. So they might get separated, but they'll try to get together by the end, I'm sure.
66 laps from start to finish. Potential for overtime at the end should we need it. The 1 car of Braxton DeWeese is your pole sitter for this race, as we mentioned before. And looking at the points, he sits 6th, 3 points behind Finian DeCuna in 5th. Michael Stroll right behind is 3 points back from him, and he's who's sharing that front row with them. So that's a pretty fierce battle between those 3. Brad Slaughter Jr. is 25 out in 8th place in the standings. Nick Massey, who we already mentioned, is not here tonight. It was just 2 ahead of Chad Simpson in 10th and 12 ahead of Casey Lakatos in 11th. So very tight points picture around 10th spot. Again, 10 drivers guaranteed in. The other 2 picked as the highest ranking drivers outside of the top 10 in points. But I think right now it's not about points racing. It's just about making it to the end. Talladega Superspeedway. Sure, it doesn't have a catchy nickname, but everyone knows this place needs no introduction. It's just about getting to the end and having a shot. 66 laps for the Fuel Mission 22 Premier Series. Deweese alongside Stroll for the start. And green flag flies, and we're racing in Talladega, Alabama for round 10. Into turn 3, Deweese leads the way. Stroll drops in line to the bottom of the racetrack. Here comes Hollaba on the outside. We mentioned that he was the winner from the last time we were here at Talladega, and he won it in a very exciting fashion, Connor. Tonight, I think he'd like to win it a little bit more decisively than that. He only led one lap last time we were here. I think he'd like to lead a bit more and still win the race.
He led the last lap the last time we were here, and he's going to lead the first lap this time. He's led 2 laps in a row.
A couple months apart for sure, as the 02 gets launched to the front off the nose of the 83 is Shane Terrian, who has had a pretty decent season, but he's 4th in the standings now. Only has had 1 win. I mean, looking at the beginning of the season, he was the driver I thought was, as the defending champion, would be the one to watch, but it has been Alan Elwood, the newcomer, that has sort of taken control of this series and has put Shane Terrian on offense rather than defense. And I think Shane can't afford to kind of ride in line today. I think if he wants to win this championship, he's got to go up there and race for it. And that's what he's doing. He's going to split 3 wide at the exit of turn 4. Now drops back in behind the 02.
He was trying to make it work, wasn't able to make it work there, but it's arguably been a better season this season. I don't think he won until Michigan in the Fuel Finals last season, but once again, he's having a consistent season, and he has that 1 win. Now just goes pretty wide middle. Oliver's starting to drop back here, but it's the season that he had last time. The only difference, he's not the points leader, and he's got the 5 of Elwood to work with, so I think he's kind of, I wouldn't be surprised if he sandbagged a little bit. I think he knows what he has to do to win this championship.
It's Casey Lakatos in the number 15 to the inside, Justin Roden in the 21.
Sorry, Will Roberts getting way out of shape there. That was odd.
Maybe fighting some loose handling here. Again, these cars didn't get those aerodynamic updates that the Cup cars got, so maybe the mindset has shifted a little bit and people might be a bit more experimentatious, I guess, as we get into this race, sort of having to remember the way that these cars raced prior. Again, these cars haven't changed, but everyone very excited about the Cup car changes. They've kind of gotten used to that. And Casey Lakatos is sort of lone wolfing this right now in the upper groove, and here comes Hollaba, and now the 34 of Robert Kenny is going to move to driver's right and join him.
I thought it would be more racy this early on, but the majority of the field staying single file. They only have about maybe 9 or 10 cars in that middle groove right now, including the 3 at the front, Lakatos, Hollaba, and I think that's Robert Kenny. So really not much action going on quite yet.
The 81, Brad Slaughter Jr. and Evan Adams are working together. You're right, it is seemingly very calm at the moment at the front of the field. Here comes a big push from Hollaba to the back of the 50 of Lakatos. He's going to push him forward and pull dead even with the 1 at Deweese into turn number 3, but no driver is going to have the clear advantage through the center of 3 and 4.
Deweese is going to get the advantage just because he's on the bottom line, but you're seeing that outside line get pretty formed up. It's only Deweese and Stroll on the bottom. Robert Kenny way off of those guys, so you're going to see that middle line come through here into the trioval. Lakatos might lead this lap, but the bottom line's back.
Across the line, nose to nose. It's going to be Deweese this time through. We're going to go 4 wide, not quite. We're going to make it 3, though. Here comes Slaughter and Adams in the upper groove. They came from a long ways back in their 2 Supras. They got Alan Elwood, the points leader, in behind. We're 3 wide, 2 deep here in the middle. Things got spicy real fast here at Talladega.
But they were trying 4 wide in practice, and it wasn't working very well, so I don't think they're going to try that just yet. As Chad Simpson's going to be the next one, go to that middle line and try to challenge for the race lead. But here comes that bottom line. Robert Kenny back to the bumper of Stroll as Simpson loses a little bit of gas.
What was that about them being so calm so early? Look at this, 3 wide, 5 deep now through 3 and 4. Bobbled by the 5 car of Elwood. He gathers it back up right in front of David Mott Jr., I believe, who's going to bail out a line. That upper groove has lost some steam, but the 2 bottom ones have forged ahead.
per usual. It's tough to get that third line going at Talladega, especially in these Xfinity cars. If Chad Simpson, the next one to challenge for a lap, like it's a little bit loose in that tri-oval. I don't think he's going to lead this lap barely. Deweese gets it. Alba goes to the third line trying to get out of this possibly. And here comes Justin Roden.
Yeah, the 42 got a bit squirrely and everyone backed off. I think everyone's still being a little bit cautious in terms of how much they're pushing cars. The big issue here with these Xfinity cars is you can push, but you got to be pretty square. The rounded off noses mean if you hit off center just a little bit, you can kind of jackknife someone sideways. And so I think especially the 21 of Roden and the 50 Lakatos were very wary of causing that sort of collision this early in the race. Generally looked at as super over aggressive, but so far very compliant racing at the front.
Could be looking to last season's race to try to not do that again. I think we wrecked like 2 times within the first 10 laps last time or something like that. So I think a lot of people might take that into mind and try not going through wide and not blocking, because we had people trying to control the field in the first 10 laps last time we were here at Dega, and this time we got 2 pretty orderly lines right now. Chad Simpson finally gets a lap lead from Deweese.
As Adam Jabay always says at Good Life, Roger Penske is not going to be giving you a phone call after this race no matter what happens. So I think it's safe to say that for now it's good to just take it easy. We saw them 3 wide for a little bit. They had a bit of a scare, and now they kind of fanned back out again. The line with Alan Elwood dropped all the way back to 25th. They're way back here at the back of the frame, right next to the 32 of Hurley, the 4 of Casey Shue, and the 60 of Tevin. Very tentative so far. Where's the 94 of Dakuna, who started out back there? He is up to 12. He's moving forward.
Not surprising, no one's trying to get close to that rear bumper. I can't blame them. So he's a little bit on his own here, just trying to stay in touch with the lead pack. That's what I usually try to do. You don't want to lose the lead pack completely like Elwood almost is right now. You kind of want to stay in touch with where the leaders are right now, just in case you can try to get some halfway points. So just go for the lead in general.
42 around the outside with a bit of a push from the 21. He's going to pull dead even with the one at Deweese, but that inside line just a little bit shorter around that bottom groove, and looks like Deweese is going to pull ahead. David Mott Jr. forging an upper groove again. Ooh, Roden wanted to get in line. Now he's going to split middle 3 wide.
An aggressive move, but he was able to make it work. He had the push from Will Roberts as the 42 is going to drop back. But it didn't really work as well for Roden. He's not going to even get the lead into turn 3 here, but he might have a big run with Will Roberts out of 4.
Simpson got sucker hold. He's going to drop all the way back to 9th. I think that 8th rather, as he tucks in behind Evan Adams in the 59 car. For the top spot though, the 3 of Will Roberts giving a pretty sizable shove, but a bit of a bobble there off the nose of the 83. But Roden's still going to pull ahead. He should lead this lap.
He's going to the 1 trying to get a run back, but that outside gets a little bit of a run through the tri-oval sometimes, and you saw it kind of work that 21 farther into the lead, but here comes that shorter line around the bottom, able to get the lead back in the center of 1 and 2.
There's Evan Adams in the 59, who's been pretty much stuck to that safer barrier since the drop of the green flag. Whoa, big slide over to driver's right. Shane Terrian goes to the top side. I'm not sure if that was intentional or not, but it sure looked like it was out of control.
I don't know if he might just not want to be behind Will Roberts, that or he just wants to drop back here. It's that outside lane, obviously no formality up there. He's just going to drop here. It's that bottom line gets some more steam back as the top line kind of fades. So at least once again clear for now. So here comes the 21.
On board with Mike Tellier in the number 97, right behind that 83, who's been tucked in behind the 42. Look at the run they just got off the back of the 42. Then he just shot out of a cannon. They're coming up the outside.
With a huge run. Leader's going 185. Terrian's going 190 on the top line as they're making that tandem work. Got to be careful on the bumper and the corners, though, as they're still going to have a big run out of turn 2 if they can still hook up.
And it's easy to spot that 97 from a distance, that's for sure. Now 3 wide again off the exit of turn 2. 21 of Roden pulls ahead just slightly. A bit of a push from the 3 car of Will Roberts. Big push. 1, 2, 3 hits down the backstretch. Now the 21's clear, but he's going to stay middle. Now it drops to the inside. Roberts does as well. Those 2 clearly working together up front.
Yep, to make it work. It's the first time Deweese and Stroll haven't been leading that bottom line, so we'll see what the 21 and the 3 can do to control this field as Terrian kind of drops back. That tandem only works for a little bit. You have to be careful to not overheat. It's at 97, trying to get some air behind Terrian here as they drop back.
I've noticed how jumbled all of this seems to look. We haven't really had, other than the first lap or 2, very discrete lines. Everyone's sort of just kind of pushing and shoving, and then they scramble after that. It's not, they don't follow each other around. It's as soon as you get clear air, you're getting wide, and I just wonder how much cooling is an issue in these cars as well, Connor. Is that something that you're keeping an eye on as well?
Yeah, you got to be careful. This isn't like the digital dash where you can see that number light up red, as we see Terrian with a big run on the middle. you have to really be careful. Roden's going to block that. He's actually going to get suckered in the middle as Terrian's going to go for the lead, but you have to be careful of those temps. You might not be able to see that dash where the oil temp is, depending on what car you're in, so you have to be very careful. Make sure you don't overstep those boundaries. If that gauge starts blinking, you might already be done.
Yeah, big block there by the 21, and it did not work. He slots into 5th now as the 83 Terrian takes his run to the top spot. 97 car popping out of existence there for just a moment. Lap 11 complete. It's definitely getting a bit more revolving door at the front here. It's not the consistent drivers up front that we normally expect to see as the 97 backs out, rightly so, with some internet issues. Is going to back up a little bit, got himself out of harm's way.
Probably the worst place for that to start happening when you're at the front of the pack trying to race for the lead. Smart on him to get out of the way, but you're right. It's been a revolving door. A lot of people have been trying to block and trying to get to the front from the back. Roden's still trying to block Terrian. Terrian having none of it. Robert Kenny's going to go with the 83, but once again, the 21's going to get hung out. But he's not going to get fully hung out because sometimes that draft can help you in the middle even though you have no help. But the 83, 34 should clear him, but the 3, Will Roberts, is going to go with the 21.
Yeah, it's getting really sketchy up front here just because everyone's changing lanes so much. A lot more lanes seem to be usable than I remember here as the 83 drops back down. Oh, the 3 and the 1 have contact. The 1 escapes onto the apron, pulls back up, then they'll continue, but that was almost carnage there as the 3 gets a huge run, knocks into the back of the 83. It's getting real spicy at the front. Now he's off course to the inside.
Oh, he's got to be careful coming up. He's going to slide a little bit. Don't know what that was about, but he's going to save it and just back out. He's still sliding through turns 1 and 2. He's going to be able to save it, but he might lose the lead pack if he doesn't get it going quickly. I don't know what that was about.
Yeah, he was just really struggling. That was a very scary half a lap for the 3-car Will Roberts. Shane Terrian has the top spot now, working lap number 13. As Evan Adams has crept up here again on his own and still using an outside lane, not feeling the need to be smashed in like a bug on the inside. I think he's okay having some clean air on the nose of that car, and right now he's running well.
34, Robert Kenny does not want to be behind Roden, but he's not going to get much help as they're 3 wide for second, almost for the lead as Terrian keeps the lead. I don't think the Weiss got damaged. I don't even think they hit. He just made a good save. He's going to go with Roden, leave Terrian hanging on that bottom line as the middle has to run now.
34 dropping back out. Roden again moving forward. And Roden was one of the more aggressive drivers we saw back at the season opener at Daytona. Doesn't really surprise me that he's up here now. He didn't really ever get to use his aggression in the late stages of that race. I think if he can make it to the end, this 21 car is going to be my pick to advance forward. I would not want him behind me, though, coming to the checkers, that's for sure.
Yeah, me neither. I will agree with you on that. It's going to be tough to pass this guy. He's been at the top 5 almost the whole race. Since he got to the front, he's been fighting to keep it, and he's done a good job doing that so far, and he's been really having to fight off the 83 in general. He's thrown 2 blocks on him so far. We might be seeing a 3rd block here soon. That top line's going to get a run out of the tri-oval.
Chad Simpson back to 4th, but look at the run that Terrian gets again with the shove of the number 8. I think they're finding out that these momentary big pushes are what's advancing everybody forward. Doesn't seem like being stagnant and just sort of shoving. It's not really getting anywhere. It used to, Connor. It feels like these momentary pushes are so much stronger than I remember them being.
It might be the case. It also could be just there's not as many cars on that bottom line, and they're not very formed up. Only Boomer Logan, Chad Simpson, Braxton DeWeese, and Justin Roden on that bottom line until obviously Terrian clears for the lead. That top line way formed up. Really depends. If you're very packed up on a certain line, you're going to go faster, and you still see that as those two are tandeming on the top. Robert Kenny and Michael Stroll trying to get back by the 83.
Roden backs off the 83's rear bumper as we come on through the tri-oval. This time Stroll is going to lead the lap, if just by a nose. And that was his first lap lead of the day. So tell me about pit stops here. Again, you think a 1-stopper or a 2-stopper the way to handle this race?
I don't think the fuel is much different. Obviously, halfway points given out at the end of lap 33, so I think we're going to see them lap 34 coming to 35. I think that's the majority of when people would want to pit, split it in half as best you can, but we'll have to wait and see. A lot of drivers might be aggressive with pit strategy, just like they're aggressive on the track right now. A big chop there by Stroll trying to get back in the lead.
Stroll pulled right down in front of the 83 at Terrian. Now Roden with a big run, but nowhere to go with it with the 34 to his outside, so they'll stay line astern for now, completing lap number 16 of 66. Kind of a pack of about 8 drivers at the front here, broken away. It's a 6/10 gap back to David Mott Jr. in the 14, who leads another group of cars. That includes Casey Lakatos, Mike Tellier, Finian DeCuna, Filarski, Ware, and more.
Yeah, all those guys just waiting for their time to get to the front. Only 8 drivers who really want to go for the lead right now, and David Mott Jr. is doing a good job. He's keeping it at a decent pack. If these 8 wreck, he can avoid it at a decent clip, and everyone's got to be careful behind him. So that's something I would like to do as well. Just stay a half a second off the lead pack, so you give yourself room to avoid a wreck if they do spin each other out. As you see, he is getting a bit of a run now. He also could be experimenting.
Yeah, very single file, everyone very complacent and compliant right now from about 10th on back. But at the front, the top 8 still scrapping for positions. The 83 going to drop back down in front of Stroll. Here comes Kenny in the 34 with a big push from the 42. Not quite a lap led for the 34 yet, though.
He's been the best. He's been one of the best pushers so far. He's been behind Shane Terry and like, especially mainly the entire race. So he's done a good job pushing, but it doesn't seem like he can really hold a line and kind of bring a line to the front, but we might be seeing that change here. Chad Simpson's got a big push of a 34, trying to get clear of Tarian, but just not quite yet. Another big bump down the backstretch. Now he's clear. Might be trying to bring Simpson with him. No, he's going to go down in front of Tarian.
And Tarian will lift and let him in line. There's the 59 of Evan Adams in behind the 42, kind of offsetting to the right. Doesn't seem interested in pushing mid-corner. But they're not going to go anywhere without a little bit of front to rear push here, Connor. So how do you balance risk versus reward? Is it worth pushing? It seems like it is for track position, but it's only so temporary. I can't really justify doing this revolving door racing at the front right now.
If you can hold a line and you know someone behind you or in front, if you can hold a line, you can bump draft on the straightaways, but that's very limited other than the backstretch. You got the backstretch, you have a little bit of straightaway at a turn 4, and then out of the tri-oval. You don't even want to push in the tri-oval. That's how sensitive these cars can be. So at this point of the race, it's better just to ride directly behind someone, even conserving temps. If you bump someone too much, you risk, blowing the engine up like we talked about earlier. So you got to be careful. You got to manage your temps and manage your front bumper and rear bumper so you don't get completely destroyed.
And Michael Stroll popped out of line in the back straightaway, and he hit that wall of air like a ton of bricks, just pulled out and stopped. And now with the 42 helping him advance forward, he should pull alongside the 83 at the exit of turn 4 as we hit lap number 20. Almost a third of this race in the bag already. But we haven't seen any collisions yet, and I guarantee you we're going to have some at the end or before we get to it.
Yeah, we might be seeing some more aggressive racing get picked back up. We got a pack of 11 now separating from David Mott Jr. One of them, Will Roberts, who's found his way all the way back to the top 10 here, so hopefully he can make sure he doesn't do what he did last time he got into this position.
Watch Boomer Logan here in the 85. Sort of stepping out of the draft just to maintain this distance, but at 190 and picking up now 193, 194. He should hit 195. Yes, he does before turn 3. Then he lifts. He's managing this gap because he doesn't want to be right on top of the one at Deweese. He wants to leave a little bit of safety gap there in case he has to jump out of the throttle.
And that's exactly what David Mott Jr. is doing. He's just doing it a little bit more aggressively, keeping about almost a second gap at this rate to that pack that's still kind of separated from everyone else who's basically staying single file. I can't imagine they're saving fuel. No reason to do that, I don't think, but you really just never know.
Well, if you can, it's never a bad idea.
No, not at all. If you need to be safe, if there's a yellow now, it really cuts it close on fuel, so if you pit and then you can save a little bit more, it could be something to look out for.
This front pack has been pretty racy so far. The 3-car back into this mix after having that slide in turns 1 and 2 a little earlier in the race. And back up into 5th and going for 4th now on the outside of the 83.
Whoa.
Wow, the 8-car top to bottom elevator move slams the yellow line as he pulls down in front of the 34. That was decisive.
Yeah, they're starting to really cut those types of moves close. Stroll did that one time that was way easier to make. That time he barely made it work in front of Kenny, so we got to be careful of those. If someone chops someone at the wrong time, it's going to be a big one into a corner.
Brad Slaughter back into the mix now, back in 7th. 3-car looked high. Is the 42 going to chase him up there? He will try. Now he will not.
Getting very aggressive. Will Roberts wants to get to the front, but I don't know if anyone wants to go to the front with Will Roberts after the slide he made, so he might not have many friends just because of how aggressive he looked earlier and how almost out of shape he was getting almost every time he went into a corner. So he might not have many friends up there. They might be trying to shuffle him out, but I don't think Brad Slaughter Jr. can do that. Now that was coming to the front out of nowhere.
Aggression is a double-edged sword because some drivers will see aggression as a positive attribute and will absolutely love to work with you knowing that you're going to carve the way forward. However, that aggression can also be a detriment. If people think you're a little bit crazy, they might not be willing to work with you. And so it just depends on who you're working with that will make those decisions. Roberts pops out of line again and will drop down the order. 3 wide for the lead. Here comes the 83.
This could get dicey. Where does Slaughter Jr. go? He's going to go to the middle here as Chad Stenson's going to get forced up top. So now we're starting to see a lot more drivers trying to get to the front as we're about 11 laps away from those halfway points being given out. So this could get very dicey. Slaughter Jr. almost putting Deweese on the apron. The 8 moving up the track. Slaughter just barely got into the middle.
Justin Roden to the bottom of the 83. Now we're fanning out. This is wild down the backstretch. 3 wide, 5 deep.
Oh boy.
As we careen down Talladega's backstretch into turn 3. Roden pulls ahead in the 21.
I believe they call it the Alabama Gang Super Stretch, but I could be wrong on that. And this is about to get completely wild as this is when it's dicey. You get more drivers trying to get to the front at a certain time of the race. Everyone's trying to make crazy moves. This could be where the big one happens. These drivers got to be careful of that because it's heating up. Well,
the Alabama gang might start taking shots here shortly as we hit or past the 1/3 mark of this race now. In about 10 laps, we'll be at halfway. The 83 back to the bottom. The 81 of Brad Slaughter Jr. up into the mix. Now, he started this race back in 22nd, so climbed through almost the entire field, as did the 5 of Alan Elwood. 13th to 5th. Here he comes as the points leader. He can't be complicit tonight. He's got a race as well. He's got point lead to protect tonight, and I don't think right in the back is going to get you very far.
He was all the way at the back at a certain point, so he's been all the way to the back, all the way in the middle, and now he's all the way to the front of the pack in the second line battling for the 3rd position now. So he's doing a really good job. He's able to get to the front when it means a lot, so I wouldn't be surprised if he can survive to the end. He will probably be up front. We're still seeing Michael Stroll trying to get to the bottom when he can.
Slaughter and Tarian, 2 Supras side by side at the line. Tarian will lead this lap. He has led only 5, make that 6 so far. Slaughter has not yet led. He's about to, I think. I'm judging this upper group at the 81, the 5, and the 3. 3 very aggressive, very talented drivers. I think this could be a winning tactic here for those 3 to push and shove each other. In the background, I do see Riley Thompson lurking back in 16th. He's got another train of cars behind him, including the Sim Motorsports teammates, Casey Lakatos and Finian Dakuda. Now they're waiting out of this, Connor, in hopes that this front pack will wreck, and as soon as they do, hello Sim Motorsports Supras. They're going to drive forward and try to kind of be the phoenix rising from the ashes, I think.
They'll have to wait and see. That's if they wreck. They could easily be able to bring this to the end. We've seen it in other leagues before. Obviously, last race at a super speedway, the last 2 races haven't been the cleanest, but they're looking all right so far. I'm noticing Alan Elwood. He's on Brad Slaughter Jr.'s bumper, but he's not hitting him really anywhere, not even on the straightaways. He is a bit closer to him in the corners this time, but he's not willing to risk turning Brad Slaughter Jr. right now.
Well, 21 hooked the apron there at the bottom of turn 2. It's a bit of a shove to the 83. We're sort of caught in stagnation here. No one's really going anywhere. The 3 doesn't look very aggressive either. Everyone's just sort of riding in line here. Is this the calm before the storm to halfway?
I would have to think so. This time by will be about, I think, 7 laps to halfway points being given out. I mean, a lot of drivers up at the front need these halfway points. Roden really doesn't need them. He's just trying to hang on for the win. But Shane Tarian could use them, especially when Alan Elwood's right beside him. He could easily, he probably really wants to beat that 5 car for some points. As 21's looking low, there's really not a groove there. The 3's going to go to the top lane, but he has no help.
I think he might have been trying to coax the 81 to leave the 5. I just don't think that's going to happen, not with the Toyota badges on the nose of that car. A Supra and a Mustang in the bottom lane. 4 Supras aligned in the middle, and then a Chevrolet and a Supra in the outer group. And he's going to drop again.
No one's going to give him a break there. He's kind of shoved himself out there, so we'll see if he can get back up to the front. But at this point, a lot of people are trying to stay in whatever lane they are in. If you're on the bottom, you're pretty much there for the rest of this run until you do pit. Because obviously, people might want to pit right after the halfway points are given out. So you might want to be trying to position yourself for the bottom at the same time as going for those halfway points. So strategy might come into play. It might be interesting this time.
No caution so far in the first 28 laps of this one. But that does not mean we're in the woods yet. I don't think we're in the woods until everyone has come back to pit lane and parked the cars for the day. I wouldn't even say that we're out of the clear when we cross the checkered flag. I think it's going to be once everyone slows down that we're out of the woods. But we have done a caution-free race at Talladega. It wasn't crash-free, but it was caution-free. That was, I believe, the Outsider Racing League a couple seasons ago. So far, so good, though, at the front of the field. Slaughter just edging out the 83 on the bottom groove with the 5 of Elwood, the points leader behind him.
Yeah, it was the Outsiders Racing League. I believe the previous season before this one, they were going to make that work. And it was a photo finish at the end, so we could be rearing up for something like that yet again. But we'll have to wait and see. A much shorter race, like we've been talking about. It means more aggression, but I think they've been less aggressive than that Aurora race. Sorry, like you said, there was incidents in that race that they were able to avoid and not cause yellows in. So we have had one incident. Wasn't going to bring out a yellow anyways, but they have been antsy, and they're just going to get more antsy as we got, I believe, 5 more laps, 4.5 at this point. So anyone's finally getting a good run down the back strip.
On board with pole sitter Braxton Louise. Look at the upper groove, though. Slaughter and Elwood moving forward with that push. And now just getting out ahead, but it seems like now we've sort of found the stagnant spot where everybody gets stuck, Connor. The first, 15 or 20 laps, everyone was very mobile and they were moving around a lot. But now that the race is sort of settled in, everyone's kind of stuck here. And it's going to take a lot more momentum. You mentioned that it was the smaller group of cars. Now that we've got 15 cars in this front pack, everyone is sort of stuck where they are. They can't make those moves where they're able to go from 7th to 1st in one corner. So you have to consider that. Here comes the 42, though, making moves. Wow, the 3 car tried to get in. He couldn't do it. 34 spins.
And it's going to be a yellow. Will Roberts, Robert Kenny, Boomer Logan. I think Michael Stroh might have gotten damaged. I think everyone else was actually able to avoid him. So good job, everyone getting on the brakes. I think that was really bad netcode. I don't even think Roberts would have hit him, but that 3 got the worst end of it for sure. A lot of damage.
Caution is out for the first time today at lap number 30 of 66. Will Roberts' car is destroyed. Let's go back and have a look at how this transpired. Yeah. Stroll and Boomer Logan got a piece of it. The 97 did a heck of a job slowing on down.
Yeah, 97 was on the apron. I thought he was about to crash. I don't know why he was on the apron into the corner, but Will Roberts made an aggressive move getting to the middle line, and then he went under Robert Kenny. He thought he was going to hit Braxton DeWeese, so he went back up. And I don't think they would have made contact with Netco, but it was close.
Yeah, that was definitely a little bit. Yeah, that 3 car was had the wrong trajectory. I'll say that. It seemed like he tried to slot in behind the 1 car and didn't, and then panicked, and then shot back up the racetrack into the 34. Now, luckily, I think everybody sort of got away with minor damage, with the exception of the 3 of Will Roberts. As you see, the 34 car, he slid back down the racetrack, but his damage was relatively minor. So he should be able to continue with just pit repairs. And speaking of pit stops, Connor, I'd expect everybody to come on down, and now comes the concern, perhaps, about making it to the end. If you couldn't quite go 34 laps, now you're going to have to go about 36, 35?
We'll have to wait and see. I feel like these tanks can hold a lot, so this could very well be the final pit stop if it went green from here. I'm expecting, because obviously the halfway points are likely going to be given out under yellow here, so I think we're going to see a lot of fuel only. I don't think a lot of people are going to be trying to take tires here.
Tarian is going to lead the field onto pit lane here. Does anybody stay out for the points? It does not look like it, so the entire field will come on down. Everybody's on the lead lap. Everybody is still rolling. And that in itself is a miracle, even 31 laps into this race.
And almost all the drivers have all their bumpers. Now, Will Roberts is the only one without a front bumper, but he'll be able to make that work.
See what kind of repairs he can get here in the pits.
Oh, Chad Simpson just got put into the inside wall. Him and Stroll hit into their stalls. There's even more damage to Stroll now.
So the 42 car, one of the ones involved, just trying to find him on the timing.
Tarian gets out first.
He will finally get pulled into his box, but some drama's on the pit lane. Let's go back and look at how this happened.
It's usually not something you expect to see, because usually drivers go invisible, but Chad Simpson's going to brake for his stall, and Michael Stroll runs into him.
Yeah, again, this is a change. Recently, this has been adjusted so that there's not quite as much leeway, and Stroll just, I think, expects to ghost on through, and he doesn't. So that was certainly a miscalculation.
Well, it almost looks like Chad Simpson didn't know where his box was. It looked like he might have missed it anyways.
Yeah, I can't really say that I could know whether or not he was going to miss it, but it certainly did look like there was some relatively significant damage to the nose and tail, and I'd be more concerned about the nose of this car than the rear of it. But either way, you don't want to have damage at all on your bumpers, Connor, because you use those to push, and if they're all jacked up, it creates a big problem when you're trying to draft.
I don't know what the cameras on SimTV show, but on my screen, he does not have even a rear bumper at all now, so he got a completely big amount of damage, and also the left front fender is pushed up, so I wonder how much damage that's actually going to how that's going to affect them. Maybe he and Will Roberts can be compatible now.
Justin Roden on the inside lane here, idling around.
Coasting. Maybe it is close on fuel. It doesn't seem like he's revving the engine.
No, he hasn't clutched in or anything. He's still in 4th gear though. But from what I've learned about iRacing's fuel economy situation is that it's not about the RPM you're turning, it's about the position of your throttle. So whether you're at 7,000 RPM or 2,000 RPM, that's not going to make a difference. So I think he was just trying to get back in line here, back into 4th, but one has to wonder.
Yeah, it was weird. He did come out 4th. I thought he might have been speeding. He really tried to gas up to get 3rd out of pit road, but he wasn't able to make it work. Terrian got 1st, Slaughter 2nd, DeWeese 3rd, Roden 4th, Elwood 5th, Lacatus, Tellier, Ware, DeCuna, and Roderick. AJ Roderick 10th. So I don't know if they're going to extend the yellow just to bring out the stage, give the halfway points under yellow, but I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Otherwise, we're going to go green to the right to the final lap before halfway, I think.
Yeah, looks like we're going to go green next time by. Another thing to note here, we've now got, well, everyone still is on the lead lap. Michael Stroll just came back down pit lane to get some repairs. Chad Simpson is back out on the racetrack, still missing that rear bumper. And the 3 of Will Roberts is out on track. Has he gotten his car at least somewhat repaired? It does look like he has gotten some remnant of a front bumper kind of super glued back onto the nose. So he should be at least in better shape than he would have been.
Probably took whatever scrap they had in their hauler, they probably tried to put back on that. How do you find a front end that you took out? It was probably somewhere on Chad Simpson's rear bumper, if I had to imagine.
Well, looking also at the timing and scoring here on the left-hand side of the screen, Connor, every time you come to Talladega, in the real world, you're always looking at manufacturer alliances. It's not a huge deal necessarily in iRacing, but you might think twice if you've got it, especially if you've got teammates that are one brand or the other. The problem with fuel here is the frequency of the Toyotas. That means that if you're running a Chevy or a Ford, you might not have a choice. So that's going to kind of spice things up a little bit. Usually it's a little easier to kind of guess who's going to work with who. I don't think you can count on manufacturers coming into play here just because if you're a Chevy or a Ford driver, you're not going to have a lot of friends around you.
Yeah, when it comes to manufacturers, that's not who you work with. If like I was in a Chevy and someone like, I don't know, Jeremiah Vince was in a Chevy, we probably wouldn't work together. If anyone understands that reference, you're a legend. But you really have to go look at who's on what team. You got Sim Motorsports, Case Lacatus, Fidian DeCuna, David Mott. They're trying to work to the front. They're kind of around each other right now. Virtual Racing Alliance, AJ Roderick, Alan Elwood, Brad Slaughter, Danny Ware. Those 4 are going to try to work together, and they're all around each other as well. It's just certain teams like that. You have to look at who's on what team, and that's who you're going to try to work with. Obviously, team play isn't as frequent in super speedway racing like it was, for example, when SHR pulled away from the field in 2018, but it's obviously something to look at because you're going to rather push your teammate instead of someone else on another team.
At halfway, Terry and Slaughter, DeWeese, Roden, Elwood, your top 5. And green flag back in the air halfway here from Talladega. After one caution at lap number 28, we go back green.
Terry might be dropping to the back here, Brad Slaughter. I think that's what they're doing. I think a lot of people are going to drop to the back here.
Yeah, we have not had a big one yet, Connor. We know that we will get one. And so maybe they're expecting it to happen just after this caution flag. They've gotten their points. Now the next points payout is at lap number 66. So why risk it? They're not going to. DeWeese, pole sitter, is going to launch back forward with the 21 of Roden. Here's Casey Lacatus into the mix. And Mike Tellier and Danny Ware. Very different grouping than we saw here earlier, at least from 3rd through 5th.
No doubt about it. Roden and DeWeese have been up at the front, maybe in the top 5 the entire race, but definitely more newcomers coming to the front. As here comes Evan Adams with a big truck. He's been back and forth with Matt Holliba, so they're trying to get to the front. Brandon Shakira looks like he scraped the wall. You got a lot of drivers laying back farther than usual. We'll have to wait and see what the fuel situation is going to be like, but I thought they were going to make it to 33 easy, but maybe we just really didn't know how tight it actually was.
Look at the run the 59 has. He's going to juke to the outside. Huge run for Evan Adams. He's going to take Matt Holliba with him. But they're going to stall. They kind of caught him at the wrong point on corner entry there, Connor, and it killed their run.
Yeah, when you tandem like that, if catching him into a corner is the worst thing you could do. You're trying to time it for out of a corner so you can use that run all the way down a straightaway of some sort. They weren't able to make that work, so they're going to stall out here. The 97's going to drop back as well.
Roden pulls ahead, clears the one of DeWeese on the inside. He's going to stay in line with the 50 car. maybe doesn't feel like dropping to the bottom would be advantageous at this point. Like the 59, another big run building out of turn 4. Halaba's going to follow. I think the 59 is going to lead this lap with the run he's got. Unless the 50 gets back to the rear of the 21, he might across the line this time. Adams will lead.
Definitely an odd race forming up so far. A lot of drivers want to be single file, making me think that fuel could be an issue as we don't see a lot. I thought we'd be more racy after we got past halfway, but it's not looking like that as Evan Adams gets to the lead and he clears the 3-wide battle for second as Halaba's going to start to drop back as DeWeese. Everyone has the run on Evan Adams out straight away. DeWeese is going to go to the middle.
Shoots to the middle groove. The 21 of Rodin's going to follow. Lacatus is going to trail in third, and now DeWeese pulls right down in front. That was a really nice move there. Connor just kind of planned that out and slotted right back into the top spot.
It's not going to stay there for long. The 21 and the 50 are still hooked up as the 59's not getting as far up to the 1 as he hoped, as the 97's going to shoot middle in front of Halaba. So that middle lane's going to prevail again as the 21 gets back to the bottom and back to the lead.
36 laps complete, 30 laps to go here from Talladega. About 25 minutes worth of racing remaining. Casey Lacatus now noses ahead.
We're back to the situation we were at, sort of a middle point, like the first quarter of the race, I would say. We're back to almost like only 8 cars battling for the lead right now. Speaking of one of them, Riley Thompson out of nowhere, he's finally up at the front. So he's trying to make something happen. Once again, only 8 cars now, and we're starting to see, like David Mott Jr. was doing that first run, we're seeing one driver hold pretty much the rest of the field back, and that driver's Danny Ware, just sitting in 9th place. Thomas Baresi behind him. This is the longest we've gone through the race without talking about Baresi, but he's there. He's just chilling for the rest of this race until the very end as well.
That's the first time that his name has been mentioned in the first 37 laps of this race, because he's been so quiet. He's third in the points, 72 back from Alan Elwood. So got some work to do to go run down the 5 car, but in a position to sneak through any big crash tonight where he is at the moment, but not going to score a lot of points running down there in 13th. So I think there's a discussion to be had in the team camp there about charging back forward, along with his teammate, 44, Tyler Hensley. On the backstretch, though, getting racy again.
It's another name we haven't called. I don't think I've seen Tyler Hensley all race, so those two are definitely working together, just biding their time and waiting for the right moment to strike as everyone else goes to the front trying to race. Michael Stroll, his car looks all right. Even with the front end damage, he's making it work, so he's still racy as well. As we're seeing these 2 lines start to form up even more yet again. Rodin leading that bottom line, and Case Lacatus making it work on the middle.
And Stroll's definitely got some damage, but I don't think it's really affecting him that much. He's been able to drive right back up in his lead group, so he should be able to continue. I don't think his car will be the best one to lead the race, but he can certainly follow and make a late move to try to win this thing. Whoa, Lacatus is going to chase Halaba way up to the safer barrier out of turn 2.
I think that was designed. Lacatus just led 1 lap, so he's trying to drop to the back, I would assume. So Halaba maybe wants to go under, but he's going to stay with him, as the 50 might just take that point and just run with it to the very back of the field, as the back of the field almost looks more risky than the front of the field. They're all scrambled out back there.
Yeah, they're sort of just disoriented right now, not really forming up in any lines, but that can be just as dangerous as aggressively racing for the top spot. So I think we're going to see shortly if that group is going to form up, and yes, they have. So they've already tucked back in. They were 3 wide out of turn 2, and now they're single file from 15th on back.
Trying to make a work right now. 50 and a 02 are still on that top line. They're not really losing much time, but they're not gaining that much into turns either, but they're doing all right. Rodin's still trying to get the lead back from Braxton DeWeese, who led that latest lap. Riley Thompson fighting his way back to the front, just pushing Rodin there as the 50's finally going to try to drop back some more.
Down the back straightaway, coming up on 25 to go here in just a few laps. And now the clock begins to tick. When we get down to lap 46, the ticker begins to count down from 20 laps. And as soon as I see that 20-lap countdown, Connor, that's when my heart rate starts picking up and my blood pressure starts rising. I think that's when the drivers are starting to start feeling the pressure of having to move forward. If you've been conservative all race, at what point do you give up on that and move forward? If there is no big one, do you just drive through it and hope it doesn't happen, or do you wait and insist that it will and try to hope that you don't get involved?
It's hard to say, but in my opinion, for someone who's at the very back, say like Finian DeCuna, who's 26th right now across the line at that time, I think the latest you can wait is about 10 laps to go. You have to pass 25 other cars to get to the front. By the time they get to about 5 to go, you're probably going to see all 3 lanes get very clogged up. So if that big one doesn't happen until 10 to go, you kind of got to decide on if you're just going to ride at the back and wait for it to happen under 10 to go, or you're just going to risk getting involved in it and try to get to the front anyways. It's a tough decision to make, but you got to go to the front to try to win these races. So if you got to just kind of risk it. If it doesn't happen, you're probably going to be in the best risk you have to take to try to win one of these.
3 wide again for second place. Deweese leads. Behind him, it's a bit of a hornet's nest.
He's off the bottom a little bit. Stroll couldn't push him as well, so that middle line's going to prevail, but also that top line's looking good. Alan Elwood's back to the front, Terrian with him, with Brad Slaughter Jr. all working together, but Logan's going to leave that lap and stay in the middle. Thompson's clear. He could go low, but I don't think he's going to.
Now he looked like he thought about it, but didn't.
Here comes the one. He's getting a run on the bottom. Thompson could block, but I don't think he's going to. He can't really turn down like that, as that top line is very formed up. All 3 Supras in a line. Oliva trying to join him, but those 3 completely packed up, doing very well, clear of Roder Jr.
Very, very organized, and they did get a significant enough of a shove forward to get the 81 clear, at least momentarily. Now Roden, I think, pulls even with him out of turn 4. Yes, he does. The 1 car back alongside the 56. So Thompson did not take his opportunity to get out of that middle groove, which I think is interesting, but maybe he's playing a longer strategy here.
I would suppose so, but I'd always rather be on the bottom than in the middle. You do not want to be in that sucker hole at any point, especially in iRacing, where you don't know who's going to be able to hold the line around you. So, and sometimes if you're in that middle line, you lose track of where you are and start just bouncing off of people like Will Roberts was earlier. So it's very tricky to do that. Riley Thompson, he obviously feels comfortable there.
There's on board now with Calvin Filarski. You see the torn up tailpipes of the 42 at Chad Simpson. Not much you can do if you're Calvin Filarski. You can't push that car. If you push him, you're going to crash him. So Filarski's rightly leaving a little bit of space between him and that 42.
Another thing we haven't noticed, Filarski's just pretty much been riding all race long, and I think he's going to ride even more if he sees a bumper like that in front of him. So, like you said, just bide his time. Don't even get close. You're going to wreck him if you even try to push that. Starting to see that top line fall back. Those 3 have lost some steam.
It is very clear to me today that it looks like there is no preferred line. I can't decide which line is the better one. I think in the past we've seen the inside line be dominant. You had to work pretty hard to get it done on the outside. I don't think you can do anything anywhere without the help of somebody. But it's definitely not pick the bottom and ride there. I think you can easily ride in the middle group. We've seen Roden do that for 10 laps.
I think the easiest thing you can do is you have to find who's pushing. This is obviously a race that's coming down to who is the best pusher. Riley Thompson's looking pretty sturdy right now, pushing the 21 to Justin Roden. Even with his banged up front end, Michael Stroll's been a really good pusher all race long, and Deweese has done a good job getting pushed. So I think that's why we're seeing all 3 lanes be so even, because everyone is so even at pushing. No one has a real big advantage. You just have a bunch of good pushers right now. So it's going to come down to who has the best ability to push and who has temps left by the end of the race as well.
I think once you get to 3 or 4 laps to go, you're not even going to look down. You're just going to run it until it runs out of power and hope that you get enough air to let it breathe. Across the line that time, Roden and Deweese neck and neck. We close in on 20 laps to go. Terrian and Avin Adams dropping a little bit out of the picture.
They try to get a 3rd line going, but I don't think it's working right now. You really need, doesn't seem like, unless you're tandeming completely on the top line, you can't gain time. And also 3 drivers up there seems better than 2, depending on what type of run you get. So I think we're starting to see a lot more people trying to get to the front. There's really no second pack anymore. Everyone's pretty orderly, all the way from first place all the way to the last place driver, Mike Hurley.
Here's a look at that 2x2 all the way back. It's like we're pacing at 185 miles an hour. Clock is definitely ticking. Finian DeCuna is lingering all the way back in 24th. And so is Brad Slaughter Jr. all the way back. He's actually in danger of losing the draft if he even lifts for a second. So he's got to be really, really careful that he doesn't find himself out of any draft, because he could drop out and not have any chance to win this race. He's also got to start moving maybe now.
Yeah, he's got to make sure he gets a run down the straightaway, or they maybe check up in that single file line, or else he is in danger. That's the hard thing about laying back. You don't want to be the last driver laying back. You don't want to lay back too much, because you risk completely losing the draft, and then you'll be probably at risk of getting lapped or something. So you can never lift for a single moment when you're in that position. I think he's going to stay with him, though.
Danny Ware, I believe, in the 19 car in the background, going 3 wide middle. We haven't really talked about him a whole lot. Looking at the point standings coming into the night, Danny is, where is Danny? Back in 12th, so he is currently one of the drivers that is in the chase based on points, but he really has to pad that with a better run here tonight. I don't think he can really risk just running where he is as we hit 20 laps to go.
gotta be careful with Will Roberts. We've seen how aggressive Will Roberts is. He's going for that 16th position. Even with that front end damage, even he still looks decently racy right now. As we're gonna see a lot more contenders trying to get to the front. Will Roberts will be one of them, how aggressive he's been. But once again, it's looking tough to beat the guys at the front right now. Roden and DeWeese have been strong all race long.
Clouds have come over the speedway, and the clock is ticking. And it is definitely the calm before the storm. And the storm is going to arrive in, I think, about 15 laps. We are getting closer and closer to crunch time. Just clicking him off right now.
The less laps there are, the more aggressive the bump trap he's going to get. You're going to see Stroll and Thompson and others coming from the back just completely beating the rear bumpers off these things, other than Chad Simpson, who doesn't have one. But like we said, the bumping's going to get more aggressive, and a lot of people are going to get more careless about where they're bumping. They're not going to go for the middle of the bumper. They're going to try bumping as much as they can, and that could cause someone getting right reared or left reared.
2 by 2 down the backstretch. The 1 a little bit slow. He's going to get a push from the 8. The 21 gets a shove from the 56 of Riley Thompson. Here comes the 42 of Chad Simpson, Daytona winner from last season, making his mark. And Casey Lakatos in the 50. Remember, he won the season finale at Texas last year. And he is definitely feeling racy. 18 laps to go this time. Wow, the 59, I believe that's who that was. Way high out of turn. No, that was actually the 34 of Robert Kenny. No, it was the 59. Really tight.
I think he did scrape the wall, actually, but I don't think he's got much damage. Just lost momentum as anything. Sorry, Brad Slater Jr. trying to make a move from the back, but he's got a long way to go, even with just under 20 laps to go. That middle line still very strong. I'm surprised Roden's never dropped back to the bottom, but it's obviously working. That bottom line, it could be caused by Michael Stroll's damage, but they're just not pushing as well as that 56 is right now.
Shuffling side by side. Whoa, 34 car and the 5 almost got together. The Elwood coming with a head of steam with no help, but a big run up to 8th.
And that's what I think he's experimenting. He saw the run he had. I don't think he even had much help with that. He just had a much bigger run than Robert Ketty, and he was able to make it work. Obviously no help there, but if they time that with a pusher next time, he's going to fly to the front.
Well, he got right in front of the 83 of Shane Terry, and that's a pretty good guy to be next to. 17 laps to go now. DeWeese at the line leads.
Saying that bottom line wasn't looking good with Stroll, but they're able to get to the front when they need to. It's just kind of odd that that middle line gets a groove or two ahead every now and then. So that could be just the 21 and the 56 trying to time when they should be at the front, the 8 and the 1 trying to time when they should be at the front potentially. I think there's a lot of experimenting going on all around the field, not just the guys trying to get a run from the back. It could be the guys at the front trying to figure out how to beat the other line. As we're starting to see that third lane trying to form up. It's only a tandem, Terry and Alan Elwood, but they're making it work.
Yeah, again, I think this is too early to be the move. I think this is all about experimenting right now, and Elwood has the 83 behind him, a trusted competitor. And they are making a little bit of ground, just inch by inch, but if they can get formed up and give one big push, they'll go all the way to the front. You see them closing up now to the back of the 50 car of Casey Lakatos, up to now 6th spot and 5th now as they cross the line, 16 laps left.
Roden's blocked that 83 and that 5 earlier today. If they get a run with just those two, will he block it? Because they're still looking very strong. The temps look good on Terry, and right now they're going to get a big run down the backstretch.
Here they come. Let's watch this run form on the backstretch. If the 83 shoves the 5. Not a huge push there. Here comes the 50. Lakatos to the inside of the 56 of Thompson. He wants a little more fresh air, and he's going to get it.
That's going to lose the middle line's momentum. Roden's got to get down the block, but he's not going to be able to do it. The 50's going to go for the lead here, and the 83 and the 5 look even better with that middle line not formed up at all as the 50 of Lakatos finally the race lead today.
Casey Lakatos, this race has led 1 lap. He's going to try to lead 1 more as we come across the line. 15 laps left. And Lakatos will lead 2 laps at Talladega.
And that top line's getting more help. The 83 of Terrian's there. I'm trying to see who that is behind him in that green car. It's Calvin Pilarski and Brad Fowler Jr. all the way from the last place position up to this 4-car line at the top right now. And they're making it work. We're going to be 3 wide for the lead down the back.
Now the race is on. Is this too early though, Connor? I'd venture to say yes.
I think you got to get to the front when you can, but the problem is I think it's too late. It could be too early for these guys, but if they stay 3 wide like this for the rest of the race, it's too late for guys like Boomer Logan and David Mott Jr. 3 lanes used up. What are you going to do? Make a 4th lane? That's basically causing a wreck. So if you can't get to that third lane when it's at the front already, you might already be in trouble if you're trying to go for the win.
Yeah, if I'm looking back, I'm Will Roberts, I'm Bresci, I'm Hensley, I'm DeCuna. I'm looking at this as a ticking time bomb. With 14 laps to go, they are not going to be able to maintain this. It's either going to slim back down to 2 lanes or it's going to be a crash. Either way, I think it's okay to wait a little bit longer, but you're right though. If this stays 3 wide all the way to the end, then you're stuck if you're out back. So there is maybe a little bit of urgency, and that urgency is probably what's going to create that crash that the others are waiting for. So it's a double-edged sword. Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah, definitely. That's how Talladega works. If you don't go, you're screwed. If you do go, you're screwed. There's no winning except for one guy. Only one guy wins. There's never winners for second on back. And the only other thing you can do if it gets 3 wide is try a 4th lane, which you can work at Talladega, but I think 3 lanes is even pushing it right now. As Will Roberts hitting the apron a little bit back there again. 4 lanes is downright suicide if you really try it this late in the race.
4 lanes at Talladega really only works when you're coming to the checkered. And even when it works, I mean, you get across the line, whether you're upside down or on all 4 wheels. That's a bigger question. The 83 pulls up in front of the 5. They're going to try to reignite the fire under that outside groove. More laps ticking away, though. 10 minutes of racing left. Roden and Lacatus dead even for the race lead.
And look who's shooting to the high line. That's Thomas Bresci out of nowhere. He knows it's time to go. 13 laps to go. He wants to get to the front now, but he has no help. But he does have Tyler Hensley trying to get up to him.
Yeah, Hensley's only about a 10th behind. There he is in that 44. They seem like pretty confident to stick in behind the 26 of A.J. Roderick for now. But they have moved themselves up squarely into the top 10. Finney DeCuna is also on the move. He's gained 4 spots back in 20th, but still has a long way to go.
Earlier in the race, the gap from first to last was almost 4 seconds, and as the time ticks down in this race, the laps get smaller. We're seeing that gap get smaller. 27th place, only 2 seconds back, and that's the last time's winner, Matt Holliver. So he's also trying to time this up, size this up, trying to get to the front, as everyone's going to be all over each other come 10 to go.
Getting racy at Talladega. 10 minutes left. 11 laps to go next time by. 83 and 5 again, trying to move forward with just a 2-car tandem. And look at the run they're building.
I think they're going to get alongside Riley Thompson, but I think they're going to get to the right rear of Roden and nothing more in this point. Or they're just for a second going to be 3 wide for the lead. That's all they're going to get for now. We'll see if they can keep the temps cool and maybe have a run out of 4.
Remember the last time we were here at Talladega, it came down to the last lap. There was all sorts of carnage, and it was a 0-2 of Holliba that charged on through. Holliba is now 4/10 out of the draft, dead last. How quickly things change. He led the first lap of this race, and now he's on the caboose end of the field as we hit 11 laps to go.
The most cars we've seen in one camera shot the entire race. First to last, 1.8 seconds last time by 2 seconds this time. Everyone, all 27 cars trying to get the first place. And only one could get the first place. Contact, Lacatus and Roden hit a little bit. There was a little bit of neck code. They lost some momentum. Those 2 at the top tandem might have a run.
The kettle is boiling over at Talladega. 3 wide for the race lead. Roden in the middle. Terrian up high. Lacatus on the bottom, but he's losing steam. Here comes that 21. Is he clear on the bottom? Yes, he is, but he's not going to drop in line just yet.
He likes Riley Thompson. He likes what the 56 has been doing. He's been pushing him well so far, but I think sooner or later you're going to have to block that bottom. If it comes to the white flag and they have a run, you have to block it no matter who it is. It's the 50 is going to get the lead for now. The 83 and the 5 have a big run. They might lose some in the trial, but they're going to stay even. 3 wide for second as Lacatus leads the rest of the field.
10 laps to go. 26.6 miles of racing left. And they're 3 wide, 3 deep as we work through 1 and 2. Lacatus back to the front again. He's got a strong partner behind him, the one of Braxton DeWeese, the pole sitter. Played the qualifying game the best of anybody earlier today. Can he play the game of the 26-mile race at Talladega? That's what we're playing right now.
Again, 3 wide down the backstretch. All 3 lanes have a decent run, almost dead even between all 3 of them. We're starting to see another top line come to the front. The 97 almost.
There he goes. This is going to be a crash here. I cannot believe it if they don't. And he saved it. Everyone still scatters. That was an amazing save by Mike Tellier there. He gathers it back up. Will stay green.
With those guys who had to check up for that, they might lose this lead draft, so less players involved in this one. I think about 4, 5, 6, maybe 7 cars out of the draft trying to catch back up, and it's really thin the playing field now. It's the 21 of Roden, almost clear for the race lead, but just not quite.
Hands are moving around the clock quicker every lap. Last time by a 50.9 for Justin Roden and a 50.9 for everybody else in the top 7. Identical lap times nearly, only differing by 100th to 1,000th of a second. Lacatus powers ahead in turn 3, still with the 1 car behind him, and look who's Gearing up again on the outside with Tarian and the 5 of Alan Elwood. Now, if they get help, say the 60 car of Joseph Tebben, I think I could see those 3 launching themselves forward and into the mix.
Yeah, I think the 5 heated up his temps a little bit too much, so they need to cool him down enough for like a 5-lap run to the end. But they also have to keep enough track position for just so no one can jump in front of them, because where they are right now, someone like Will Roberts can easily jump to that 3rd lane and stall their run, so they have to be careful getting that far back.
And look who's brought the party in. Look at the difference in the ticker now versus 20 laps ago. All the bow ties there on the timing and scoring. The Chevrolets have shown up at the end. They're here for dessert. Look at the 21. Big push from the 56 Riley Thompson. He's going to nose ahead into turn 3, but then the short way around, the 50 Licatis.
Gritzko, he wanted to go to the middle. Sorry about that. AJ Roderick almost left some room in the middle. He wasn't able to make it work. Gritzko stayed there. As you're starting to see that 50, he's not holding the bottom line as much as Braxton DeWeese wants him to, and they lose so much momentum down the backstretch because of that, and it's letting Justin Roden beat him into turn 3.
Here we are, back to 2 lines. This is when the opportunity arises for someone to take a big run. It's not going to stay too wide for this long, so you better take your run while you have it. For drivers like Finney DeCuna, who's up to 17th now on a charge, they have to go. He's stuck in the bottom. You're not going to go anywhere down there. You need to get that 3rd groove and go while the lane's still open.
The problem when it gets this stacked up, if you're on the bottom lane, you're Michael Stroll, you're Chad Simpson, you're stuck. You're not going to get to the middle line. No one's going to really want to get from the middle to the top unless there's a big run on the top. You're stuck where you are unless you're Casey Licatis, Justin Roden, and anyone on that middle line, basically.
Into turn 3, 50 Licatis and Roden. They've been door to door for about 15 laps. No one has been able to have a clear advantage. The 56 and 1 have been tucked in behind. How long do they play ball for? Here comes the 3. He's gotten his own groove up there on the high side with help from the 81 of Brad Slaughter Jr. That line's going to move forward.
And imagine Slaughter wants Will Roberts in front of him. We know how much damage that 3 had, so he might not be the best driver to lead that top line, so they might try to dump him as soon as they can. All over the rear bumper, almost turning Will Roberts as Riley Thompson gets out of the way. Alan Elwood has a run. He gets up to the top lane. Briscoe tries to go with it. Robert Kennedy almost doored Elwood.
A lot of lateral movement now. Everyone's getting a little bit twitchy coming down to the last 5 laps of this race. That Gritzko machine, we hadn't talked about the 91 all day long. Now he's in the top 10, gunning for a win here behind the 26 of AJ Roderick, another driver who's been awful quiet so far, and too quiet. I think he's going to have a run here at the end. Gritzko goes to the 3rd lane.
We've seen him get clear of that bottom line so many times. If he gets clear again, within 5 to go, does he finally go down there, or does he stay with Riley Thompson? Riley Thompson will go for the win. We're almost getting Gritzko into a wall there, almost contact. That was Roderick and Gritzko really stacking up both of those lines. I'm just wondering if Roden will ever take that chance of clearing the bottom and trying to control all lanes.
5 laps to go at Talladega. Roden leads this lap. Licatis still on the bottom, but here comes Gritzko with the help from the 5 car of Alan Elwood, the points leader, coming into the night, needing not to have an immense race, but just not to have a bad one. So far, so good. He runs an 8th. But he's going to try to move forward with a big push on the 91. Tebben behind him to help as well.
Have a big run, but so does the middle line. The inside kind of stalled out there. The 21's going to get clear. Which line does he want to block? He's not going to block any of them. He's going to stay in the middle. Keep Gritzko on the way top. Is there going to be 3 wide for the lead?
I think Roden feels like he's in a pretty decent spot, but he's not going to feel that way when he's bordered in on both sides with the 91 up top, the 50 on the bottom. It's going to be a Supra sandwich with Ford Mustang meat in the middle.
Elwood has a new partner in Gritzko. It looks like Shane Tarian wasn't able to get in front of Elwood or behind Elwood, so he's stuck in one of the lanes way back there.
Oh, there it is! Huge crash. The 91 goes tumbling, and everybody's going to be in this one. Massive crash in turn 1, and that's the whole field.
Aiden Pastorius comes out. That is literally everyone. Another flipper back there. Elwood's getting killed. Finney and DeCuna's in it. Literally almost the entire field. Only count about maybe single-digit cars that survived that one.
Wow, we knew it was going to happen. And it finally did. Lap 63 is 65. There's DeCuna.
My goodness, I can't believe that. And the craziest thing about that is Casey Licatis, I think, is going to be the leader. He somehow survived all that.
I remember who the first car was that got turned around. Here's Roden.
It was Licatis. That was neck code as well.
Oh, man, the 91 went sailing.
Look at, I can't believe how many cars were involved in that. Everyone going into the wall. Everyone comes back in front of the track. Watch the 50 and the 21 here. I don't think they hit. I think this was really bad netcode. You saw Licatis, he wasn't holding the best of lines through the tri-oval and out of the turns. He drifts up here, and just that little bit of netcode contact sends the 21 up into the 91, and he just gets pinched into the wall and goes flying.
And then the 21 comes back across the racetrack and just acts like a snowplow. Filarski gets into it. The 9 of Pistorius tried to squeeze through. Man, what a mess down there in turn number 1.
Everyone else, Alan Elwood and others come back. AJ Roderick almost up on his lid. He gets on his side as Tyler Hensley in the 97. Even Brad Slaughter might have been able to get through that. Matt Alba going through the grass. So many good cars who ran so well today caught up in that.
And here's Alan Elwood focused on the green car now. The 91 went absolutely airborne. There's a better shot of everything. And the 34 almost got through it too. It's right on board with 34 of Robert Kenny.
A lot of onboards we could see out of that. I think Will Roberts might be a great onboard too. I don't know how much damage he got, but a lot of guys did a good job trying to get through that.
Kenny feels like he's almost through. He gets hit there. I'm good, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. Not good.
And then the rest of the field's in your windshield.
All things considered, he did get away with quite a bit. Wow.
I really don't know how Case Licata saved that car, and he really doesn't have damage. He's going to stay in the lead as pretty much 3/4 of the field is going to have to pit for damage repairs.
Yeah, he's right on board with the 50 of Licatis. Not going to see a lot here, but...
Oh, man. Then Riley Thompson, he gets squeezed 3 wide as well. I think someone else was on his inside. Might have been DeWeese. Could have been Stroll as well.
Yep, the 91 car, though, he takes a hell of a ride.
Nothing he could do either. He's thinking he's in the best position to get the race lead here, and here comes the 21 just sandwiching him into a wall, and he's going to go for a ride and see the entire, pretty much the entire crowd just watching him.
Crowd track, over the top of the 3 car. On top of that, there's a 32 Mike Hurley. Wow, that was tight.
I want to see Will Roberts. I don't even know if Will Roberts got damage out of that because he might have gone under the 91 and avoided all that.
Let's find him. Right now, scored 11th. Here's what it looked like from his view.
Yeah, people at the back definitely got the best view of this. It's going to start happening around here. The contact's made there. Here comes the 21. There goes the 91 over him.
He got some air.
Here goes Finian by him. Then they're all going to pile up in the track, so he's going to turn that left and try to get the grass. Here comes Evan Adams. He barely misses him. Michael Stroll's right there. There's the inside wall, and I don't think he hit a darn thing.
Here's Finian DeCuna's view. He almost had it woed up, but then the self-cleaning banking took the rest of it with him.
There was Gritzko, and he might have gotten distracted by that for all we know. He's almost there. Did a damage into Hollaba, I think, and then they just all start piling behind him, too.
Yeah, he got hit from behind as well, which added to the mixture. All right, well, with that said, we've got everybody lined up. We've lost 5 cars. Casey Licatis is your leader. DeWeese, Thompson, Stroll, Simpson, they have made it through. And now we should note...
Sorry, I don't think Michael made it through.
Oh, no, well, he made it. He didn't make it.
He survived.
Yes. Let's remind you about the timing and scoring. After the conclusion of the scheduled distance, which will happen at the end of next lap, the timing and scoring will cease to update instantly. It will only update once every time we cross the start-finish line. So just remember that the positions will only change at the stripe. They will not change instantaneously. You'll have to trust your eyes for that one. And we're going to get a 2-lap run at the end. This is overtime here. It'll be 2 laps over scheduled distance, working lap number 66 of 68.
We're going to have at least 3 attempts. Hopefully we only need the 1, but you really never know. We might see a big shake-up into points after that. Shane Terrian, another guy who somehow got through that. He's clean. He's back in about 13th, but he does have a clean race car. While Alan Elwood, I don't think he has a single fender left.
Elwood is the points leader. He needs to get back out on the racetrack and just get what he can.
Another guy, Thomas Bresci, also avoided that. Another guy, top 3, top 5 into points. He could have a chance at maybe making some noise, gaining a few of those 72 points back. Riley Thompson, who is second, I don't think he had as much luck. He did. Actually, he did. He is third, so he's in a big point situation if he can try to close in on that 5.
42-point lead between the Elwood machine and the 56 of Riley Thompson. This would certainly put them a lot closer together heading into Richmond next week, where things get kind of re-racked and restacked. And Casey Licatis, who came in 11th in the points, is looking like he might be able to grab himself a win here. But we got ourselves an overtime situation, Connor. Every time we see this at Talladega, Daytona, places like that, it never seems to really spool up all the way. It seems like if this was a 5-lap run to the end, things could have time to kind of gear up. But I think if you're not in the top 6, I'm not sure that you've got a chance to win this race, but I could be proved wrong.
We've seen it proved wrong before. I think Alba wasn't even like, he might have been top 10 at the worst when he won, but he definitely wasn't at the front of the pack. Anything could really happen. When these green-white checkers happen at these types of tracks, this is when people drive the absolute dumbest. This is when you only have 2 laps to make something happen. You don't have time to get a run like Elwood and Terrian were trying to do. You have to block this person. You have to swerve bottom to top, try passing below the yellow line, even if it's not legal. You're basically trying anything stupid trying to get to the front, so it's definitely going to be interesting.
I'd say you've got plenty of time to get a run. What you don't have time to do is plan how you get it. I think that's really the key. The 8 car is going to pull out of the groove. He doesn't want to be in the mix here, but with 2 laps to go in the 10th round of the 2021 season here from Talladega, the Fuel Mission 22 Premier Series will be green once more. Lakatos, DeWeese, Thompson, Bressi, Stroll. Green flag back in the air, 2 laps to go. Lakatos got out a little bit far here, Connor. That's a concern.
Thomas Bressi needs a black flag clear because of Stroll letting everyone by. And like you said, that was too big of a lead to get, but there's really not much formed up on the bottom. If I was him, I'd get to the top and kind of strand rally Thompson, but DeWeese is going to have to run, and that's Thomas Bressi pushing him.
Side by side down the back straight. 56 of Thompson. Whoa, big slide. The 83 out of control. He gathers it back up. Will Roberts pulls back in line.
Now they made that work. Where does DeWeese go? The 24 is obviously going to try to pass him. Thompson's got the push to Bressi. The one tried to block him, wasn't able to make it work. Here comes Bressi with the run. There's almost 4.
Chaos here out of turn number 4. The 24 car is pulling up dead even with DeWeese as they come out of turn 4. This time by white flag, and they're going to be in the air here at Talladega. 2.66 miles to get it done. 3 wide as they come across the line. Here comes the 81 of Brad Slaughter up the middle. 3 wide again. White flag.
They didn't block the 81 of Slaughter. That's Tyler Hensley, Bressi's teammate, pushing him too. So we're going to have 3 separate lines trying to win this. 2 in the middle, 3 bottom and top. And we got more drivers trying to join the fun.
3 by 3, 2 rows deep. The 24 bobbles. They're going to crash. Slide.
There it is.
There it is. They're going to wipe out the entire field behind him. Bressi is free and clear. He leads the way. They're going to tumble on the back straightaway. The 56 of Thompson's got help from the 2. Here comes the 44 of Hensley. Teammates. But they're going to get cut off by the 56. Thompson gearing up for a pass.
Where does Bressi go? Does he block the top line or let the 56 get the middle? They're going to make contact. A good job. Bressi was able to keep him behind him, and Hensley's not going to help the 56 at all. This could be all Bressi needs.
Hensley could try to go out there and win this race as well. Is he going to have help from the 2? Coming back to the stripe. Thomas Bressi was in the back all race long. He saved it to the right time. The 3 are going to crash behind him, and Thomas Bressi's going to win at Talladega.
They're all going to crash behind him. I think Hensley was able to get second. No, Riley Thompson did as they all hit the inside wall. A crazy finish, not what we expected, but Thomas Bressi hung at the back the entire race, and he made it count. He got to the front when it mattered most.
Thomas Bressi started this race in 15th. Made it to the front at the very, very end. He led 2 laps, one of them being the last one. Thompson second by just about a 100th of a second. Then Casey Shue, Tyler Hensley. How about the teammates? 1, 3, and 4.
Yeah, that's they were literally nowhere the entire race, just biding their time, and they were able to make it work as they all get top 5s. All of them did a really good job. They were able to make that work, and a lot of the drivers who were up the front the entire race do not get to finish the show for it. Just like maybe the 50th Lakatos who was up there, he only gets a 9th. The 21 wasn't even able to finish the race. He gets second to last, 26th. So a lot of unfortunate finishes for a lot of guys, but a finish that Bressi definitely needed. Been a while for him.
Yeah, Slaughter and DeWeese crashing at the exit of turn number 2. DeWeese will finish unofficially in 20th place. That's got to hurt. The 3 car also took a pretty nasty hit there on the end of the back straightaway. He finishes 24th. This is what happened to the 3.
Beating bang in front of him, Chad Simpson. I don't know how he almost got through that. But Will Roberts just has nowhere to go, gets sideswiped back into the entire field. Chad Simpson stopped him from going into the field. And the race for the finish, Riley Thompson had a run. I think he could have timed it better and going a little bit higher. Instead, he tried to go low, and Bressi already had it covered. And then it's just basically a team sandwich there, as the 44 was never going to try to push Riley Thompson to the win.
I think for Riley Thompson, the move would have been to try to run up high and have Bresci cover up there, then cut to the bottom. Either way, it was a dramatic finish. Let's have a look at our race results. Thomas Bresci gets it done. He comes home in the race lead. Thompson, Shu, Hensley, Ware, the rest of the top 5. That 19 car snuck in there as well.
Yeah, he was really just outside the top 10 the entire race, despite his time as well, so he did a good job. Mike Taylor, who made a great save at one point in that second to last run, he did a good job getting back to 6th, and Taryn got caught up in that last lap crash, but he was still able to recover for 7th.
Looking on down, Finney DeCuna snuck a top 10 out of that somehow. I didn't think that was going to happen based on the crash, but he did come through it and get a top 10 position. Chad Simpson, 15th. And then here's some of the disappointments tonight. 34, Kenny down in 17th place. Hollaba, Elwood, points leader, 19th place, with Riley Thompson finishing 2nd. The points lead is going to close out.
Braxton DeWeese, who was almost top 5 the entire race, only finishing 20th. That's got to be tough to swallow as well.
We're going to talk to your race winner in more here in just a moment, but Connor, while I do that, your thoughts on how that one transpired. We only had one caution until about 3 laps to go. That was a pretty solid race.
Yeah, we saw the big one coming. It just happened at almost one of the worst times when everyone's at the front trying to get to the front. If the big one happens, then you're going to wad up the field, and that's exactly what happened. So a lot of drivers kind of got screwed out of a good finish, but it was obviously really entertaining seeing all these drivers go 3 and sometimes 4 wide trying to get that front. It was definitely a blast.
We've got Casey Shu here, one of those teammates. Casey, tonight, a 3rd place finish. You got to be thrilled with that. The entire team sort of charging forward in the late stages there, but you made it through and into the top 5. Not quite a victory, but you still got to feel like a pretty successful day.
Well, I've been in every single wreck, every single race so far this year, so this might as well be a win for me. They started going, and I was like, they're going to wreck. They're like 3 wide and 4 wide. Y'all go ahead and go. I'm just going to sit back here. And sure enough, the whole field just wrecked. And then at the very end, I was just able to stay there and just, I guess, pick off the guys that had no engines left. So I'll take a 3rd place.
And, of course, the Rays Energy car sliding into 3rd at the very end. Casey, congratulations. We head to Richmond next week. Having a look at Richmond Raceway, is that a place where you feel like you can go out there and win?
I'm never gonna say I'm gonna win somewhere, but Richmond's hot or cold for me, so it just depends on what the setup's like when we get there. I've had some good runs, and I've had some really bad runs there, so we'll just have to see on Tuesday.
Casey, congratulations, a 3rd place. We'll see you next week. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Moving on to Riley Thompson. Very, very close, Riley. A 10th and a half short of another win this season. You've gotten actually 2 wins this season so far. This would have been your 3rd, but just shy. What would you have done different if you could do it all over again?
With how long that finish was, I don't know if there was much I could have done different. Working with those guys all race, luckily Thomas was able to get the win, and we were able to get a 1-3-4 with Hayden, just lying back and hate Canadians. But that whole time, it was really good, and kind of with Ryder was up there at the end too. It was really good working with him for I don't know how many laps, so yeah.
Well, pretty satisfying day, and you're going to make a pretty big gain of the points as well. Heading to Richmond, what's the goal there, and what's the goal for the rest of the season? Go out and win races, the championship, ideally both, right?
Heck yeah. I mean, if I'm getting to get close to this, hopefully the championship battle doesn't end up being this close.
All right, Riley, best of luck to you next week at Richmond. We'll see you there.
Thank you, guys.
And race winner for the first time this season, it's Thomas Bresci in victory lane. Thomas, a really solid race for all the teammates tonight, but where did you come from? You weren't anywhere to be found. I don't think we mentioned you until lap 37, and all of a sudden, 2 laps, you lead 2 laps, one of them's the last one. Take us through your race, because obviously you saw a lot at the windshield.
Yeah, it was, I don't even know where to start. That was, yeah, what a race. Yeah, just I tried to kind of just blend a little bit of the strategies that usually I would do, where it's just hang way at the back, and then Daytona this year I kind of just hung out but took the runs and stuff where they came, and it sort of worked out for the most part, it seemed like. So just sort of blended that, and then obviously we're working with Riley and Hayden really well tonight, so hats off to them as well for being team players, because I mean, it was pretty much a team effort right there at the end, just the 5 of us, but just hanging out. And I mean, we tried making a run at it before that big wreck, and there was nowhere to go, because it was just, I mean, it was like LA traffic basically. So was trying to maybe make the top work or the middle, and just there was nowhere to go, so ended up getting to the bottom, and that's kind of what fortunately got me around that wreck. I saw someone go across the track, so I was like, I'm just going to go left now, and had a good, I just happened to line up on, in a good spot on the restart. I appreciate Stroll also jumping out of the way, because I know he was just trying to salvage what he could with what he had left in his car, but and then just had a good restart, and it's just last lap at Talladega, but just shout out to the team, because I mean this is the first race in a while we've had a plate race go that well as a team, but Tyler and Casey did a really good job, and in terms of the 5 of us that were working together, we got the top 4 spots in P8, so not too bad, I would say.
Not bad, I would say, either. Well, we've got one race left here in the regular season. That happens at Richmond next week. Then we had a Dover, Vegas, Martinsville, Chicagoland. You came into the night 3rd in points. You're going to gain some on Elwood, the points leader, and a couple on Riley Thompson. Your thoughts on moving forward into the playoffs, the Fuel Finals? Do you think you can win?
I mean, I hope so. I'll be honest, I think you were aware, I was pretty bummed out after Sonoma, just because it's been a while since I've gotten a win, but I didn't think it was going to happen here. So, it's a good confidence booster, because it's been a really, really long time since I've won a plate race. But, I'm looking forward to it. I think, we'll see kind of how next week goes. But just to start the finals, I'm jonesing for Dover. I can't wait to get there, and some of the other tracks there. So, fingers crossed it's a good run. But, we'll see, because it's a pretty competitive field still this year. So anything can happen.
Anything can happen. Anything did happen. Thomas Bressi victorious here at Talladega. Thomas, we'll see you next week at Richmond. Thanks for talking.
See you guys.
All right, Connor, wrapping up things here from Talladega. A wild one, that's for sure. A winner that maybe we didn't expect. A driver that needed to win to at least maybe feel like he was competitive, even though he was already very consistent. Your final thoughts on Talladega, then heading to another short track, Richmond. What do we expect to see next week?
A lot of beating and banging. We're going to see even more front and rear bumpers taken off these cars, and probably even higher tempers that we're even getting at Talladega. Motions have been running high the last few weeks in this league, and I think they're going to come to a boil once we go to Richmond. Fuel Finals time after Richmond, so everyone's going to be trying to get a win, 11th on back, trying to get one of those 2 wildcard spots. So it's going to be a wild night at Richmond next week.
Wild night at Richmond, that's for sure. Thanks for watching us here on SimTV. Next thing you're going to see tomorrow night, the DC Region SCCA Virtual Racing League from Virginia International Raceway, GT3 Racing, followed up right after on Thursday by the SCAR Super Trofeo and Prototype Challenge Series from Spa-Francorchamps, as well as the Porsche Canada Esports Sprint Challenge on Thursday night. They'll be headed to Suzuka. Friday we're off. Saturday we're back with Outsider Racing League action from Watkins Glen. We'll see you there. Thanks for watching.